Hey, good afternoon. Happy Sunday, everyone. Thanks for joining us live today on You Choose Sundays. And I am talking to our Nova Scotian neighbor, Justine Gelevan. Welcome, Justine.
Hello, thank you.
Yeah, I'm really excited to have you today because I am very interested in talking about the Enneagram, what the Enneagram is, but more importantly, how it is a tool that people can use when they are themselves building on self-awareness. So, welcome.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm so excited. And I mean, Enneagram is something I could talk about for hours on end and have done.
I know you can. And listen, I know this because, as I'm going to let everyone know right now, you and I met and became acquainted because we met on LinkedIn. And I took a workshop that you were hosting, and it was such a wonderful workshop about the Enneagram. But before I took the Enneagram workshop, how did I even know about the Enneagram? I have a very good friend, Kim Watt, who told me about the Enneagram maybe a few years ago. And so I kind of started doing a little bit of digging. I love LinkedIn. That's probably one of my favorite platforms. And I was like, well, let me see if there's somebody on here talking about the Enneagram. And I literally searched Enneagram and you came up. So everybody who thinks SEO doesn't work on LinkedIn, it does, because I found you that way. So welcome again.
Nice. Yeah, that's great.
So why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself? And then let's just dive right into personal awareness and how you tie personal awareness with the Enneagram.
Yeah, great. Well, I am Justine Gelevan. I am a personal and professional development coach. And I have been sort of diving in. My whole background around coaching, everything that brought me to where I am today is primarily based on my own journey, which is just being a constant learner, someone who really presses into self-improvement. And you know, what led me to Enneagram in particular is a friend who, like me, loved to take every assessment you could take, every personality thing, every Myers-Briggs thing you could take. And she said, oh yeah, I'm investigating this Enneagram thing. And, you know, you should find out what your type is. And then it was shortly thereafter that I joined a group coaching program as a participant. And one of the things they did was talk about, well, what's your Enneagram type and how you can actually use this as personal growth tool and really tune into who you are, what motivates you, and all these things. And from there, I just took that learning about myself and felt like, wow, this is amazing. I felt like I was reading me in a book. It was amazing. And then dove into what it's like to learn about all the Enneagram types, who they are, how we see people show up. And then on top of it, now I use it as a coaching tool to help other people build their own awareness. And it's just been completely changing everything for me and my clients as we do that.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
one of the things that really stuck out to me about your workshop when I took it was not just learning what my own Enneagram type was. That was fabulous. Okay. But it was that you said, resist the urge to look at somebody else and what you know about them and tell them what their Enneagram type is.
Right.
So I know people are very well-meaning. And so when I first started learning about the Enneagram, several people told me, oh, you're an 8, based on the things they saw me post on social media and maybe some of the things that they had heard me say. Maybe they knew what I did professionally and they're like, you're an 8, you're an 8, you're an 8. So what I did was, before I really even understood the Enneagram, before I took an Enneagram test, I went and read about a number 8 and I was like, oh yes, maybe I am an 8. There were some things about an 8 that I did not like, which prickled me. You know, I was like, I kind of don't like that. But I was like, maybe I am an 8. And then when you said what you said, don't let other people tell you what your type is, because they're perceiving you in a different way than how you show up to other people even. That really stuck out for me. So
yeah, I mean, why is that? The key is because Enneagram helps us to understand not how we show up. It's not what we're doing in the world. It's why we're doing it. And it's all about our motivations. And so only you can ever know that. Even when you take a test, the test is still a robot. It doesn't even know.
Yes.
So, yeah.
So the other thing that I really, it wasn't a struggle for me, but I really had to think about was, I've taken personality tests before. I've taken the DISC, I've taken the Myers-Briggs, all of those. And I find them all very helpful, but I also am very careful not to say, because I am this way on the test, this is how I am.
Right.
And I know that can be very hard for people. So what do you say before we get into what the Enneagram is? Because I know that there are going to be people like, get to it already. What's the damn Enneagram? We've never heard of it. Tell me why you think it's very important for people to take the test, and sort of not just say this is a one size fits all, right? But this is a tool that I use to really use for myself, not on others, but to understand myself and others.
Yeah. So the thing with the Enneagram and typing other people, or looking at things from the outside and really using it for yourself, is it's when it helps you to really see yourself. And one of the other things that you would have heard me say in that workshop is, like, not only should we resist the urge to type other people, we should resist the urge to use it as an excuse.
Yes.
So why is that? Well, it's because, and people have said, Enneagram doesn't put you in a box and make you that type. It's not like, oh, I am this, and so therefore I am this and this and this, and this is my label that I put on me. Instead, Enneagram shows you the box that you're most likely already in, and gives you access to seeing the way that you're showing up and why you're showing up that way. And that's important because it gives us so much more personal growth opportunity.
Yes.
And so when we use Enneagram to, instead of saying, well, I'm a 7, and so that means that I like to do all these fun, adventurous things, and people go like, I'm not reliable because I'm a 7. I like to do everything. Well, that's actually just poor awareness and behavior sometimes, I think, right?
That has nothing to do with the Enneagram. You need to get yourself together, right?
And so I think for me, what I do for myself and what I encourage others to do is, when you see yourself in that type, it's not about like, oh, I'm doing this and I should embrace this in this moment. For me, it's like, oh, I see that I'm in my type right now.
Okay.
I see that I'm in it. And now that I have this lens to look through, it's like I still get to choose.
Yes.
I now have something else that brings more awareness to what's going on for me. And I go like, oh, that's what's happening for me right now. So for me as a 7, and we're going to get to talk about all of what that means, but there are times when I'll feel like I want to do 5 different things at once. And I'm going, oh, I see what's happening for me right now. I'm just in my type right now. And I can have like empathy for me. And when I see other people who might be doing their thing, I can go like, I see it from a different perspective, not to like shame it or blame it or use it as an excuse, but to just be like, oh, now that I see it, I can choose what I need to do or what I want to do differently.
Yes.
Rather than to just be on autopilot and just going with it.
Yes. So we're going to get into what the Enneagram is. So first, I want to just go ahead and ask anyone if they know what their Enneagram type is. Go ahead and put it in the comments. I am a 1-wing 9. We'll talk about that. But what I wish I did know other people's Enneagram types sometimes. Not just because I'm nosy, and I am sometimes. I want to know how people think. Also, I think it helps me not change the way in which I communicate, but it helps me to better understand why they communicate the way they do. And so when you brought up empathy, that is a core value of mine, is being empathetic, and putting myself in somebody else's shoes and trying to understand why people think the way they do and why they feel the way they do. And in turn, I can feel some of that also. So I think that's really good. So if you know your Enneagram type, Please tell us what it is in the comments. I will probably only see them if they're on LinkedIn, but I will come back to all of my friends on Facebook. I value you. I love you. And I'll come back and I'll make sure that I comment on that. So go ahead and tell us. You look like you were going to say something. So say that.
Yeah. Well, the only thing I was going to say is on that note, while people are putting in their types or whatever, it is fascinating and it is a wonderful thing when your either friends or colleagues or people that you interact with. In my case, it's when I'm working with coaching clients. It's like, it's helpful to know other people's Enneagram types, not to type them, but so that we can understand and relate to people with so much more authenticity and to be genuine about why people are approaching something a certain way. I've known people that use it in the workplace, and it really helps people to understand how to communicate better, how to work more efficiently with this person or with their team, and even how to lead people from a place of a different strength when you're really embracing the differences in people.
Yes, absolutely. So why don't you go ahead and tell us, because not everybody here knows what the Enneagram is, and thank all of you who are joining us today. Let us know what the Enneagram is, and then can you run down the types for us?
Yeah, absolutely. So what is the Enneagram? In short, it is an ancient sort of study of the 9 basic types of people. And it is helpful in understanding not what we do, but why we do it. And so each Enneagram type has a core motivation. And this is what's motivating them to do what they show up in the world doing. But you and I are both doing the same thing right now. We could be out doing the same thing at work or here in this moment, but we're different types. And so our motivations are driving us from a different place.
Yes.
So basically, there are 9 different types, and I'm just going to kind of tell you about each of them, and sort of the life strategy or the motivation for each one.
Okay.
And this.
Go ahead. I was just going to say, as you do that, for those of you who can and are able, make sure that you ask questions in the comments, because I'm going to turn my phone on and look at folks on Facebook too, if I can. But those of you on LinkedIn also, if you have questions, make sure you drop your questions. And now let's go ahead and get into the types.
Yeah, so I'm just reading from the back of this book. It's as simple as that for in this moment. What's your Ennea type is where I'll be reading basically the 9 types. I'll show you actually a quick picture. This is the shape of the Enneagram.
Yes.
Enneagram means 9-sided shape in Greek.
Okay, hold on. Folks, don't you come in my inbox talking about a pentagram. I want to hear it.
No. 9-sided shape.
But I have to give that disclaimer, because I'm telling you, some of these good church folk friends will be like, girl, you know that's devil worship.
Yeah, no. So this is
we'll talk about that too in a little bit.
Yeah, it's a great example of just the 9 basic types of people. And so here we have, I'll just read here. Type 1, the improver, the reformer, the perfectionist. Their life strategy, their motivations might be to be right. And they might think, I must be perfect and do what is right. It is important for me to be right, as well as help others do that as well. Type 2s, the helpers, the givers, the befrienders. They show up in the world as compassionate helpers, and their strategy, their life sort of life strategy or motivation would be to be helpful and caring and needed. They find a lot of identity in being needed. Type 3, the achiever, the performer, the motivator. Their life strategy, I must be impressive and look accomplished and successful. 3s show up with a real motivation to be seen and doing. They sort of have a belief that I am what I do.
Okay.
Type 4s, the individualists, the romantics, the artists, the expressionists. So type 4s show up as full expressionists in world, and they look for significance, personal significance. So their life strategy would be like, I must be understood uniquely as I believe myself to be.
Okay. And that's type 4.
That's right. That's type 4. Type 5, the investigator, the theorist, the observer. The observers are motivated by the desire to be seen as capable and competent. So their life strategy would be to be knowledgeable and equipped at all times to be seen that way. Type 6, the loyalist, the skeptic, the guardian. Their life strategy would be, I must be secure and safe. I am always motivated by safety and security for both myself and other people. And that causes me to show up very loyal and wanting to be sort of on guard all the time for myself as well as those that I love. Type 7, that's me, the enthusiast, the optimist, the Epicurean. So the thing that motivates 7s is the desire to be satisfied and content, to have all different types of experiences. So their life strategy would be, I must be enjoying myself and avoiding pain.
Okay.
And the type 8, so this was the one that you thought you might be and turned out you weren't.
Yeah, everybody who knew anything in my personal life about the Enneagram would be like, you're an 8. You're
yeah.
An 8. So I assumed, I must be an 8. Enneagram. I don't. Must be an 8.
The 8 is the challenger, the protector, and the advocate. And 8s are motivated by their need to sort of control and be in authority. And 8s show up as very authoritarian and leaders. Most CEOs in the world are 8s.
Okay.
Because people follow them because they are advocates for people, as well as they're the take charge kind of folks usually. So their life strategy. Yeah, exactly.
People categorized me as an 8, but there were things about the 8 that I was like, I'm not an authoritarian. I don't have to be out in the front, and honestly, I am more private. So when I read about the 1 and the 9, we'll talk about wings, that made perfect sense to me about who I actually am.
Totally. And it's all about that motivation.
Mm-hmm.
So the last one here is, I didn't do the life strategy. The life strategy for the 8 is, I must be strong and outside the control of others.
Mm-hmm.
So control is a big part of the 8, as it is for the 1, for the reason of the center of intelligence, which we can get into later. And the last one is the 9, which is the peacemaker, the mediator, the reconciler. 9s are motivated to find comfort in creating peace. And so they will do that by trying to create peace within themselves as well as the world and environment around them. And their life strategy truly is, I must maintain peace and calm. And sometimes, as with every type, there are ways that we do that are more or less healthy. For the 9, sometimes that can look like peace at all costs. It's like, even if there is something, I will sweep it under the rug, or I must sleep to it, because I view conflict as not peace, and therefore I'm not comfortable with it.
Yes. So I am a 1 wing 9, and sometimes peace for me. So like I do want peace. And so when you think about motivations, I think about what I do for a living, but sometimes wanting peace for me is very internal, and I want peace, and I'll be like, peace out. That's what it's like for me.
Totally.
Like, I will totally shut down and be to myself, or in my home where I know I'm loved and protected and cared for.
Yes. And that's a very wing 9 thing. It's a very 9 thing. I can't count the number of 9s I've come across that their happy place is like being a burrito blanket on the couch. Like, I just need to wrap myself up and go away for a while and just that's where my happy place is. Yeah, totally. Yes.
So can you tell us, can you talk to us about wings?
Yeah.
And also, you brought up something else that I wasn't familiar with.
The center of intelligence, maybe.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Those a little bit.
Definitely. So wings is when people talk about, like Ayana's just said, a 1 wing 9, or some people will say 2 wing 4. It wouldn't be it would be a 2 wing 3. Either way, what's a wing? A wing is when we are in whatever number. I wish I had a bigger picture of the Enneagram, but I'll show it a little bit close, and you can see the order of the numbers here. So when we look at the shape, wings are the 2 numbers on either side of your number. And so sometimes people will try to say, that I am my number. But the reality is that all types have access points to 4 other numbers. And 2 of them are the wings, which are the 2 on either side of you. And so in your case, you are a 1, which means that you're balanced between an 8 and a 1. Sorry, a 9. Mm-hmm. No, you're a 1. So you're between a 2 and a 9. So this means that we sort of ideally in our personal growth journey will find ourselves in different seasons of our life leaning on our wings, depending on what we might be going through, which means that we have access to strengths, and we might even show up looking a little bit like that number more than the one that we actually are. It gives us access. The other access numbers that we have are the numbers that we go to in stress or growth. Okay. And so that has to do with sort of the direction lines. So for example, I am a 7, and that means that I am sort of balanced between a 6 and an 8. And depending on whatever season of life that I'm in or role that I find myself in, I have access to kind of lean on one number or another, or be perfectly balanced between. Ideally, when we're in our higher self, when we're in self-mastery, we would be balanced between both wings. But because of our experience and because of what we do, we have those access points, and that's exactly the reason why. The other thing that I mentioned really quickly is to do with what's called the centers of intelligence. And some people will call those like a triad. And so that is to say that there are 3 different main centers of intelligence for each of the Enneagram numbers in groups of 3. Okay. So I don't know if I can share my screen, Ayana, but I have another picture that I can pull up eventually if we want to, that will actually break out the different groups. But in the meantime, I'll just use this tiny picture and show you them like this. Okay. So we have 8, 9, and 1. Where's my finger? Here it is. 8, 9, and 1 is one group. Okay. 2, 3, and 4 is another group. Yep, I see that. And 5, 6, and 7 is another group. Okay. Those are the 3 centers of intelligence. So what does that even mean? It generally means that those 3 numbers all have the same way that they take in information, the same primary emotion, and the same drive. Okay. For each group. So let's use yours as an example. Okay. The 1 is in that group with 8, 9, and 1. That is called the body or the gut triad, which means that the way that you might primarily take in information first is through your body or in your gut, like intuition. Yes. And then you might have a thought or a feeling about it. Yes. Similarly, we have 2, 3, and 4. 2, 3, and 4 are in the heart or the feeling triad, which means that they would primarily take in information as a feeling first, and then have a thought, and then feel it in their body or their gut. And then we have 5, 6, and 7. They are the head or the cognitive thinking triad, which is very data driven. It's about first taking in something as a thought and then feeling it in our body or emotion.
Okay. I love that. Go ahead.
No. I mean, so what that basically means is, and I found when I learned that, it made so much sense to me, because my husband is a 1, and for years he would just go, something's weird about that person. And something's just off about them. And I'd go like, how do you know? Why? Because I'm a head triad. So I'm like looking to collect data, and I have no data. I just met this person. I don't know anything about them. Whereas my husband is like, no, there's something strange about that. He just has a gut feel. He's a 1. He just knows it. It's like intuition. He feels it in his body. Me in my head triad is like, no data. I have nothing. I need to learn more. So this is how I see that show up in just natural real life experiences. I have other friends who are in that body triad, that gut triad, and they just feel things very viscerally. Whereas me in the head triad, I'm kind of like, I feel like I need more information. It's very often that I'm the type of person that will say, that doesn't make any sense to me. Mm-hmm. Is because I'm trying to figure things out. People will be like, you're very in your head right now. Is because it's like, that's how I make sense of information. Yes. Similarly, other people who are real strong empaths might say the same thing about feelings. They might be like, I just feel this heaviness. I just feel this joy. I just feel this. And it's a depth that they can't cognitively always make sense of yet. That's a process that needs some time. So, I mean, I just absolutely love that we're all so different. And that's why we are having the variety of people that we are, is we need these strengths in the world.
Definitely. So I identify with that whole gut and know intuitively. And I was laughing when you were saying that about your husband, because I am very much like him. And my husband will be like, well, how do you know you don't want to work with so-and-so if you didn't even meet him? I'm like, because I'm telling you, I know. Mm-hmm. I know if you won't get along with so-and-so or you don't want to be friends, because I'm telling you, I know. I wish I could give you something that would make you feel better. But when I tell you, you better listen to me. I love this.
So I know that I know, and perhaps your husband is not in that body triad, and so he's going, I'm not there yet. I need more, or whatever it is. Yeah, right. That's awesome.
So I'm gonna take a look at the comments really quickly.
Yeah.
StreamYard is giving me an issue right now because I want to be able to look at. I'm gonna look on my phone, so don't think I'm being rude. I'm really
no problem.
Go back and make sure on my phone that I'm not missing anyone. Let's see. I do want to put up a comment because I think somebody did say they know what their type is. And it's Deirdre. Yeah, Deirdre says
the second one.
Yep, she says 2 is my second one. So let me go back. Deirdre, she says 1. Let me go back and look at this one too. 1 and 2. She's a 1 wing 2. So can you repeat to us, if you don't mind, Justine, what a 1 wing 2, not even how they would show up, but what their motivations would be?
Absolutely. So
when you do that, I'm going to see if I can change this banner because it's giving me a hard time and it won't let me take down the Enneagram question.
Okay, no problem. While you do that,
fresh. Fresh because I don't want to lose anything here. So everybody, what's your Enneagram type is going to be your banner for today because I can't change it. I'm sorry.
No problem.
Sorry.
So a 1 is the perfectionist, the reformer, the one who really is motivated by a desire to be right and with integrity, to do it the right way, to show up and not only find that rightness within themselves, but they often will look to do that and support that for the world around them. Now, sometimes that's great, and sometimes that's not welcome. So for ones, it can be really interesting because they can come across as perfectionists, the ones that need it to be done right. And if there is a way of doing it, and it's the right way, or you shouldn't even bother doing it. That's what a one might think.
That is basically how I feel. This is how, when I took the test and realized what a one was, I was like, "Oh, yeah, that is me." I'm like, "Don't do it right. Don't do it. I'll do it myself." That's how I'm always.
Right. Yes.
I work so well by myself because I'm like, give me that, because I don't like the way you're doing it.
So, and it's interesting because the 2 falls into that a little bit, because the 2 is the helper. So the 2 is really their desire, their motivation, their in everything that they do is to be loved, to find connection, and to be loved and valuable. And so they will quite often befriend, help, support, and work with others so that they can have what they need through that relationship. But sometimes 2s will go so far as to not acknowledge what they ever need. They're so focused on what other people need that they don't even, they're a little bit out of touch with what it is that they need. So one of the things I mentioned earlier is that within that feeling triad, within all of them, there's a primary drive. And for the 2, 3, and 4, the primary driver is identity. So 2s are always looking to go, who am I in the world? And how am I relating? How am I finding my identity? 2s will usually take that striving for identity and put it towards rescuing others. They see themselves as the one that other people need, and that's how they will get the love that they desire.
That makes sense.
And so when you just said something like, well, I just am going to take it, and not only do I want it to do it right, but I want to do it. Sometimes I've seen 2s do that because they are like, I'm going to help you endlessly. Even if it's not my job, I'm going to do it to support you in needing me. So it's a little bit of this give and take. I'm helping you, but I'm actually also helping me to have this identity that you need me.
Okay, and that's a 2.
That's a 2, yes. So the 1, I could see you're a little bit in your 2 when your 2 wing, when you're like, oh, not only do I want to do it, I'm going to do it for you.
Yes. Yes. Yes, I can see that as well. So I love this about the Enneagram for several reasons. And the reason I think I love it most is because, like I said, I've taken a lot of personality tests. I've worked a lot of different places over my life. I started working when I was 15. So when I started working in offices, I started in a dental office, I worked at a school. There would be different points in my life where we would take different kinds of tests. Sometimes they were for fun. Sometimes it was everybody take this test for whatever reason. And so I think on the disc, I show up as a S and a C. I can't remember what I am for the Myers-Briggs test. I think I don't remember, so I don't want to say. But the Enneagram was the one that made the most sense to me. And I think it was because not just who you are. I just have a hard time with that. I don't like a test telling me who I am. But what I do love about it is it tells you your motivations for why you do what you do. And so that was what mostly really matched who I am and how I am in the world. So I love it because of that. So I know that there will be people who are wondering, how can they take the Enneagram test? Where do you go to do it? While you do that, I'm going to see if I can get this ticker off of here yet. And I can't. I am just so afraid to refresh. I'm not going to do it.
Okay. So how do you take the Enneagram test? Well, there are a variety of options, and there are free options that you'll find online. There is one that I generally will send to people that's a free test as like an introduction one. And it's just the traditional test on eclecticenergy.com. It's kind of a funny, sketchy looking site, but it's one of the best free online tests that I've ever found. I've seen a couple on Truity as well. Those are not my personal favorites because I've actually seen others than myself been mistyped on that test. So it's not a favorite, but a lot of people do use it. And if people want to do a deeper dive and actually look into it more, there are paid tests. Some of them you can pay like $18. Some of them are like $60. There's one by a group called IE9 that I think it is a $50 or $60 fee. But they'll give you like 70 pages on you and your type and how it shows up and whatever. So I have heard wonderful things about the IE9 assessment also. But what I would say to anyone who's just dipping their toe in is take an assessment of whatever type, even take two to see what your top scores are. And what is quite common is you'll get percentages of your top three types. And I encourage people to read the descriptions and motivations primarily of all the top three types that you get. Do your reading, and then also, find a coach or someone who uses Enneagram, certainly in the way that I might, to really walk through that, to help yourself to narrow it in on, okay, how does this show up for me? People often go, well, I'm a helper, I'm a teacher, so I must be a 2. Yeah. And I got a really high 2 on my score. But just like you, Ayana, it's like you can be doing things, but the thinking and the motivation is what's different. And it's that we need to tap into, because it will have us really understanding those core motivations and why we do what we do. That changes everything.
Yes. Yeah. So why don't you tell me what you're up to right now? Because again, you and I became acquainted because you were doing a workshop.
Yeah.
So tell me how you are using the Enneagram in the work that you're doing.
Yeah. So I use the Enneagram as a coaching tool for personal growth and professional growth. So with my one-on-one clients as well as with group coaching. So I have a group coaching program actually starting very soon that combines, personal awareness in general, using the Enneagram and other tools with vision boarding, and really helping people to look at, like, who am I? What am I motivated by? What do I really want? And how do I create more of that in my life? So that's what I'm sensing more than ever, especially after the year that we have experienced, the whole world has experienced. There's a freshness to people going, who am I? Yep. What's really driving me, and how do I create more of that in my life? And it's so powerful. The results that we've had doing this group coaching have been absolutely life-changing for people. So if that is something that people are interested in, I do have that group coaching starting again soon, as well as one-on-one coaching, where it's more of a customized approach to really help people to dive in and use Enneagram and other personal awareness tools to say, why do I keep ending up in that same spot? Am I really settling or self-sabotaging? How do I rewrite that story for myself? How do I show up differently or find myself reducing my stress when I'm actually tapping into what's going on in my head?
Yes.
Those are the questions that I'm noticing people are wrestling with right now. They're going, there's so much going on in my head and I don't know how to make sense of it.
Yeah.
And one of the first things that I tend to do is help people to just get present with, what are you thinking? What are you feeling? And what are you feeling in your body? And those are really key things to just help ourselves check in with at any given time of the day, and not try to judge it or shame it or change it, but just to be with it and let ourselves see where we are. And it helps us to tune into why we might be making decisions the way we are. If I'm really scared, if I'm really churning on something, and then I make this big decision, it's made for the wrong reason. Maybe I'm not really tuned into what's going on. And so slowing that process down is absolutely life-changing for people.
So 2 things. For anyone, I hear leadership all the time, thought leaders and a leader of this and a leader of that.
Yeah.
I'm not quick to call people leaders, okay? Sometimes leaders are just really great motivational speakers, and it's not the same thing.
Yeah.
So I think the personal awareness part for anyone who calls themselves a leader is so important, to know who you are, how you are, why you are, and then why do I make the decisions that I do? Because then it makes things a lot easier when I'm making really tough decisions. I have to make a lot of tough decisions sometimes. Who I'm going to work with, why am I going to work with them? Not all money is good money. What is my motivation behind why I am working with someone? So I just think personal awareness and continued personal awareness and growth is really important. So I'm glad that you said that, and that you do coaching in that area. The other thing, now this might make me sound like a real weirdo.
Bring it on.
So, I have never okay, so I have never actually done a vision board. I know what a vision board is. I've had friends who have had vision board parties, but let me tell you what I do almost on a nightly basis, okay? When I am relaxing for the night, when I am going to sleep, and sometimes I'm putting on my healing tones, to kind of clear my energy up and just kind of really get relaxed for the evening. I may not look at a vision board, but in my mind's eye, I am doing all the things that I say I want to do. Like it's already happening. And I honestly, in my heart of hearts, believe that that's why I am where I am right now, and why I'm doing what I'm doing, and why my business has been very successful, because I saw it being successful 2 years ago. And I am literally doing things and partnering with organizations who I had already determined in my mind, even when they told me no at times, that it was going to happen for me. So I see all of these things in my mind's eye as though they are already being done. Like, I want to retire my husband early. He works for the automotive industry. He's on his feet all day long. He is a wonderful provider. I want to get him home early. I want to retire him early. My dad has been my dad and mom for a long time, because my mom passed away when I was in my 20s. My dad has always been a fantastic father. I have never wanted for anything in my life because of how hard my mom and dad have worked. I want to take care of my dad one day, not because he needs it, because he would have a hard time accepting that. But there are some things in his life that I know he wants to do that I want to do for him. And I can't wait to be able to do that, So when you talk about the vision board and coaching on personal awareness and being present, even, I'm doing all of those things. But I will tell you that a lot of that was jump-started by the Enneagram and really learning about the motivations behind why I do what I do. So I just think that's really important. So I want to thank you so much for being here today.
Yeah.
Listen, I don't know, StreamYard, how come I can't change anything? I can't, but that's not going to stop me. I want you to tell everyone where they can find you. I want you to say your email address very slowly, because again, I can't show.
No problem.
This is irritating my life.
You can find me on Instagram at Gelevan Coaching. You can find me on LinkedIn as Justine Gelevan. And you can find me on Facebook as Justine Gelevan Coaching. I'm fairly easy to find. It's pretty streamlined all over the place. And I really encourage you to send me a message, send me a DM, send me anything if you have interest in diving into customizing this for you and really making it something that jumpstarts your personal awareness journey, your journey on whatever is next for you. And I love what you said, Ayana, about, creating that. Things are created twice. I've heard that said. I don't know who said it, but things are created first in the mind and then in real. But we can't reverse that. We have to know it. Our brain physiologically needs to think it and create it here first in order for it to be out there. The only thing I would say about, just as a side note, what your affirmations were, I want to. I encourage you to change that to I will. I will care for my father. I will retire my husband early. I will do this.
Yes.
I am so happy and grateful that I have done it.
Come on, girl. Yes. I will. I thank you so much for that.
Yeah.
And yeah, I will do that. And when I do that, I'm remember you. I know you'll remember me. And I know this is not the last time we will talk. I want to dive deeper myself into learning more about the Enneagram, again, because I think it's great for personal awareness. And I want to be able to better understand how people show up in the world. And so I can be a better support there too. Maybe that's part of the 2 in me.
Yeah, see?
Wings, I don't know. So let me ask you this, because I always get in everybody's business, okay, before we go. I won't get too deep, but tell me what you're watching right now. Do you like television?
I do like television. What am I watching now? Oh my gosh. I have Parks and Rec basically on a loop in my house all the time. And before that, it was The Office. We were watching the show Elementary. I guess, yeah, if you really knew me, you'd know that I love those like 1 hour murder mystery style shows of any kind. Currently, we've been binge watching Elementary all the way through all the seasons, which is like a Sherlock Holmes sort of mystery. I love those. What else am I watching? Oh my gosh. We haven't even been watching many movies, and I watch a lot of old shows, honestly. There's not too many new ones these days that I'm as into as my favorites. How about you?
I'll tell you, I just started watching last week, and I got through all the seasons. So now I'm in the current season, Good Girls.
Oh, yes, I've seen that. It's so good.
So it came up on my Netflix, something that I would be interested in. I had no idea that it was actually a show on television.
Yeah.
Then I started watching it, and then I sort of got a crush on the bad guy, and I was like, I gotta keep watching this.
Yes. Yeah.
I did. That's what happened. So I've been watching that, and it is such a good story, like a good storyline, and the characters, the 3 women who are working together, they just work so well together, the chemistry they have. So that's what I'm watching. So
nice.
I encourage you to check out Good Girls. I encourage everybody to check out Good Girls. And I encourage everybody to come back next Sunday. I think I'm talking to Kenya next week. And she's going to be talking about building a business and what you need to do. She is the woman who helped me launch my business. In 2017, while I was still actually working for someone else, I had confided in her that I was unhappy just about where I was. And she kept saying, start a business. And I was like, no, I never saw myself as an entrepreneur. It was because of her that I even got my business registered. She encouraged me. And now I'm way out earning what I was in corporate America. So everybody come back next Sunday while I'll be talking to Kenya. I can't wait to have her on. And Justine, thank you so much for being here today. I'm so glad on LinkedIn. You know, LinkedIn is my jam. This is live. This is live, people.
You meet the best people there.
Come on. It's the truth. No shade, Facebook, but seriously, also LinkedIn. Okay, so I will talk to you soon. Everybody, have a great week.